Welcome to AER Int channel, and welcome back to the course Sheet Metal course. This video looks at the fan feature, and as we previously mentioned, this isn't specifically a sheet metal feature. We can use it in normal solid modeling, but it can be very useful in sheet metal, because fans are pretty common in sheet metal parts. It basically allows us to quickly cut circular fans, something like we see in this picture here. To get started and explain how it works, let's open the part that we've been working on, and just delete any previous feature. So we've just got the flat base flange feature like this. The first thing that we need to do is draw a sketch that's gonna define our fan. So start a sketch on that base flange, go normal 2, and I'm just gonna grab the circle tool and draw a circle at the origin. This circle will define our fan. Let's make it 80mm diameter, and this will be the outer boundary of the fan. We can use different shapes, doesn't have to be circular like this, but first we'll look at this example, and then we'll quickly look at different shape later on. Next, we want to add a few spars, so let's grab the offset entities tool. Make sure we don't have any of these construction geometry boxes selected, and then set 10mm, and just click on that circle that we just drew. Make sure our offset going inwards, so we might have to press reverse here, and then press OK. And that's gonna give us a 60mm diameter circle, because it's 80 minus 10mm on each side. Now let's do the same thing to add 2 more circles. Select this inner smaller circle, and then press offset entities again, and we're gonna offset 10mm inwards again. So now we've got one at 40mm, and then finally let's do the same thing for this inner circle. So select that circle, press offset entities, and then offset inwards by 10mm. So then we've got a 20mm circle in the middle. So we should have a series of concentric circles like this. Finally, let's add some ribs. So select the line tool, draw a line from the origin vertically upwards to the outer circle. At this stage, our sketch should be fully defined, so everything should be black. If it's not, if we've got some blue lines in there, then try just adding some dimensions if needed, or make sure that the first circle, the larger 80mm one, is fixed to the origin. So we might just need to grab the center point of the original circle, just drag it back to the origin to add that coincident relation. So finally, let's select that vertical line that we just added and add a circular sketch pattern. So select the line, go to the sketch tab, and select circular sketch pattern. This is underneath the linear sketch pattern drop down here, and it will probably come out automatically like this. But let's just check that we've got the same parameters. So we should have 360 degrees, equal spacing, 4 instances. We see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and then the entities, the pattern, is just that straight line. So mine says line 1. Our number might be slightly different there. And then finally, the axis of revolution, which is the center of the pattern that we're actually patterning around. It should have a point in there, which is the origin. So if your preview looks different, then try clearing this top box, and then just select the center of these circles. If that looks good, press OK. And if we're having problems with the circular pattern, then we can also just draw in these 4 lines manually. So now we've got the sketch that's gonna drive the fan feature. We've got these concentric circles of all different sizes, and then we've got these 4 straight lines. Let's exit this sketch and find the fan tool. As I mentioned, the fan feature isn't just for sheet metal, but we can find it here on the sheet metal tab. So here it is. Make sure we don't have our sketch selected, and then select the fan tool. We can also select it when we are editing the sketch or from within the sketch, but it will automatically reveal some options. So we're gonna make sure that the sketch isn't selected, just so we all start from the same empty slate, so we can explain all of the different options. So as usual, we've got quite a lot of options, and this one does look quite complicated, but if we just go through them from top to bottom, then it's fairly straightforward and linear. There's also this message at the top, and this basically says that all we need to do is select certain sketch segments to define the fan. The first one to select is called the boundary. This is the outside edge of our fan, so all of our fan will be inside this line or collection of lines. Make sure we're in this blue box at the top by left clicking, and then left click on the largest outer circle. And we should see in the preview that the whole area is now cut out. In the face option here, we've automatically selected face 1, which is this blue face, because that's the face where the sketch that we just selected is drawn. There's a few options here, we'll come back to those in a moment, and down here we can see the flow area. We'll also come back to this as we go through the tool. At the moment it says about 5,000 square millimeters, and it's 100% open area. What this means is that the entire area of the circle, e.g. our fan, is about 5,000 square millimeters. And our entire vent, everywhere within the boundaries, currently opened, so it's 100% open. But we'll come back to this in just a moment. The next thing we need to do is select some ribs. So left click in this ribs box here, and then just select those 4 straight lines in the sketch. And as we do, we can see the ribs are added to the vent. And now if we look at the flow area, we can see the open area has reduced to 84%. Because these ribs are actually closing off some of the area. We can set the thickness of the ribs here. Mine has defaulted to 5mm, but I'm gonna try to. And we see the ribs get thinner in the graphics area. But also now we have more open area. It's gone up to 93%, because those ribs are basically blocking off less of the open area. There's also some options for the depth of the rib and the direction. These are grayed out in sheet metal, because the ribs are always gonna be the thickness of the sheet that they're cut from. If we were using this vent feature just in a normal model, there wasn't sheet metal, then these options would be available. Now we need to select some spars, and these are very similar to the ribs, but they're in a different direction. So left click in the spar box, and then just select 2 of these middle circles. And those spars are ready. And the properties are exactly the same as the ribs, so we can change the thickness here, and adjust the open area. Now we don't need to select spars to complete the vent, we can just use the ribs. But we can't select any spars until we've selected at least 1 rib. So I'd recommend just working from top to bottom here on the left until we've got what we need. The final thing that we're gonna select is the fill-in boundary. Again, we don't need to select this, but if we do it, it just fills in the entire area solid. So I'm going to select that small inner circle. So the whole inner section is now filled in, and we can really see the shape of the vent now. Once we are happy with how it looks, press OK. And that vent feature is added. Now we can see it in the design tree, and we can edit this in the usual way, just by clicking on the feature and pressing edit feature. There's a few options that we didn't cover. The first one is the draft. This just adds a draft, which is an angle to the cut of the vents. Probably won't really use this much in sheet metal, and we can't really see it if it's just a small angle. The next option is the radius of the cuts. So we can actually round off where all the spars and the ribs join each other. So if I try 1mm here, we can see all of those corners are slightly rounded off now. So that's the vent feature in a nutshell. Maybe it can look like a bit of a drawn out process there, but actually once we've got the initial sketch, it's very easy to adjust everything. And it's probably much easier than just manually sketching out those vent cuts, which is the sort of an old school way of doing it. I used to do it like that before I found out about this vent feature. And this option really is a lot more flexible if we want to change anything later on. As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a circular vent. If I just quickly start a new sketch and draw something like center rectangle, and then maybe get the line tool and draw some vertical ribs. Then I'm gonna reselect the vent feature. I can do this from within the sketch, and this time for the boundary, we're gonna have multiple outer lines because we've got these 4 lines of the rectangle. So we can select them one by one, and we get that cut out. And then for the ribs we can choose these lines. Then we can change the thickness, and we can round off the edges and make any changes that we want, and press OK to add that feature. So that's roughly the same sort of thing, but just a bit of different shape there. So to recap, the vent tool is a good way to add these vents that are fairly common in sheet metal, and it gives us a lot more flexibility if we want to modify them later on. Firstly, we need to draw a base sketch, which will define the boundary of our vent, and whether it's got any ribs or spars, and then we can use the vent feature. We can select that boundary, select any ribs or spars, and then select the thickness and any other parameters that we want, and add those ribs. The next tool we're going to look at is lofted bends, and this allows us to create a transition between 2 different profiles. So something like going from a square bend to more rounded bend. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like. I hope it can be a little helpful and useful.